Kinji Ninomiya is determined to become a rich NEET, and by investing into a real estate empire becomes wealthy without ever having to do work. A portal suddenly transports him to the world of Amuria, populated by demi-humans. Here the Age of Heroes is over and the dungeons they once explored are mined by modern corporations for the ore demonite. Kinji is forced to become a miner but soon incurs enormous debts. He befriends Wanibe, a crocodile demi-human, and volunteers to prospect deeper into the dungeon where monsters are more dangerous, but demonite is more plentiful. He reveals to Wanibe he discovered a secret entrance to the 3rd level. They are attacked by a demon girl named Rim, but Kinji makes a deal with her, promising that if she guards them while they dig, he will provide her tastier food. They begin making huge profits, but Kinji despairs as his money goes towards feeding Rim and his debts actually increase. Kinji discovers a magician's staff left behind by a dead hero and uses it to hypnotize other miners into mining for him. Eventually the staff breaks, the miners awaken, and Kinji is severely punished. With no money to feed Rim, she threatens to eat Kinji. Kinji and Wanibe are transferred to a dangerous exploration team. Wanibe is injured, so Kinji is forced to do his share of the work while also having his pay reduced. This leaves him with no money as he must still feed Rim. A swarm of monster ants overruns the mine, and to survive, Kinji uses a transformation potion to turn himself, an elite warrior and an equipment manager, into ants, but ended up trapped when their boss seals the mine. Kinji realizes while transformed he can understand the ants' language and introduces the concept of workers' rights to the worker ants, forming a union to demand the Ant Queen treat them better. It is revealed the Ant Queen decided to expand her colony into the mine after Rim disappeared and stopped eating her workers. Kinji confronts the queen with her workers' demands, but she decides to simply kill and replace them. Rim appears having grown hungry, so Kinji gives her his dinner. The queen is impressed Kinji can control Rim, who has preyed on her colony for years. Wanibe returns to work, where Kinji reveals with Rim, the Ant Queen, and her colony he plans to take over Raizaha Mining Corporation and form his own Dungeon Black company. Shia, a modern hero employed by Raizaha Corporation, locates a Philosopher's Stone in a dungeon and is asked to join Exploration Group 3. On an island containing a corporate training center, Kinji and Wanibe are forced to endure brutal physical exercise, psychological abuse, and magical brainwashing to increase loyalty to Raizaha. Kinji snaps Wanibe out of being brainwashed and reveals he knew about the brainwashing the whole time and used mind-altering plants to resist and plan revenge. By drugging the brainwashing sorcerers with the mind-altering plants, they set off fire spells, exploding the island, the training center, and all the instructors. Believing they are successfully brainwashed, the corporation sends Kinji and Wanibe to Group 3, where Shia becomes their supervisor. Kinji tries to point out Raizaha's exploitation, but Shia, who is totally loyal, forces him to accompany her to the dungeon to fight monsters. When Shia tries to kill Ant A, Kinji's favorite ant, he summons Rim to protect him. With Shia captured, Kinji forces her to pose for photographs incriminating her as being friends with Rim and the Ant Queen. Using the photographs, Kinji blackmails Shia into secretly working for his Dungeon Black company. Kinji is told to repay 5 million gold within a month. Shia shows Kinji monster parts can be valuable, so Kinji hatches a plan. Belza, Raizaha's director, reveals Death March is approaching, when all demonite and monsters regenerate, which is massively profitable. Kinji builds a farm to harvest monster parts without killing them, and pays the 5 million. Belza reveals Death March includes the resurrection of a Majin, but this requires the sacrifice of a hero like Shia. Majin attacks Shia, so Kinji throws a magic crystal at it, teleporting Majin to the surface where it destroys the mine. As Majin tunnels back into the dungeon, Kinji has the ants set traps. Shia insists on fighting, so Kinji scolds her for putting herself at risk trying to escape the reputation of her father, the king of failed adventurers. Realizing he is right and she doesn't have to outdo her father, she decides to live for herself and kills Majin but destroys her sword. Majin revives and tries to eat Kinji, but Rin senses this, saves Kinji, and eats Majin. Rin reveals something about Majin's resurrection was unnatural. A teleportation circle Kinji recognizes as the one that summoned him from Japan opens up and he and Rim fall in. Kinji awakens and meets Ranga, the cross-dressing male priestess who summoned him, and Zazzle, fanatical leader of an underground human village living in a city created thousands of years ago by the advanced Colonian civilization. Zazzle reveals 300 years previously an evil corporation took over the world and threatens Kinji into defeating them. Kinji realizes he's actually in Amuria 300 years in the future, and the evil corporation is Raizaha. Arriving at a castle, Kinji learns it belongs to Demon Lord Belza's deputy, General Ant, whom Kinji realizes is actually his friend Aunt A, who has evolved into a powerful monster and is overjoyed to see Kinji. It is revealed that, far from exploiting humans, General Ants treats them fairly, asking only that they work 40 hours a week while providing holidays and health insurance. The problem is, humans of the future are unreasonably lazy and believe 40 hours is too much work. Belza has not run the corporation in years, and General Ant doesn't know what to do. Deciding to help, Kinji takes over as General Ninomiya, punishes lazy workers and rewards hard workers, making the company profitable again, and also takes over the underground city, replacing Zazzle as leader and forcing the citizens to return to work. Generals Rogine, Power Ash, and Zeke's Hauler all see Kinji as a threat. Power tricks Kinji into a worm monster ambush that fails when Rim defeats the worms. Ro makes Kinji responsible for turning difficult wasteland into farms, but Kinji has the worms cultivate the land easily. The three decide to put Kinji in charge of a truly impossible mission. Ranga wakes up in a version of Alice in Wonderland where rabbits are slaves to the queen, while unemployed moles live in internet cafes. Queen Belza arrives and reveals Ranga's secret is she is Belza's descendant and offers to let Ranga live with her carefree. A Kinji white rabbit tries to get Ranga to agree, but real Kinji appears and awakens Ranga with a headbutt. It is revealed the general sent them on a mission to defeat a robot that hypnotized Ranga, but is now destroyed by Rim. Kinji assures Ranga it is good she has her own goals separate from Belza. Having defeated the robot, Kinji is invited to meet the Demon Lord, who surprises Kinji by asking him to save the world. The Demon Lord is the resurrected Majin, Rim's twin sister. She explains the Colonian civilization created dungeons and guardians like Rim to manage the flow of magic throughout the planet. But when Rim met Kinji and abandoned her dungeon, Raizaha was able to mine all the way to the bottom and use the advanced technology of the Colonian city beneath it to take over the world. Majin temporarily defeated Raizaha and became Demon Lord, but Raizaha has returned, having turned their corporate slaves into robots to defeat Majin and turn the planet into a dystopia empty of biological life. Thus she offers Kinji a choice: return to Japan or go back in time and stop Raizaha in the past. Kinji chooses to go back in time, where as a Raizaha employee, Belza fines him 10 million gold for going missing for a month, forcing him, Rim, Ranga, and Wanabe to move into Shia's flat, where Kinji explains his plan to get to the bottom of the dungeon and reach the Colonian city before Belza, so he can capture their technology and take over the world first instead of Belza. Kinji learns the dungeon has become much more dangerous. Shia decides to put him through extreme training, during which he learns living beings can absorb natural mana and convert it into magic to boost physical abilities, something he cannot do as he's from a world without mana. Kinji sees Ranga playing with a broken gun he brought from the future, but when Rem tries to eat it, the gun absorbs her mana and requests a password to activate, which Kinji accidentally gets right by jokingly suggesting the commonly used keyboard password QWERTY. Realizing he now has a powerful weapon to compensate his physical weakness, Kinji takes everyone back to the dungeon to catch up with Belza's adventurers. Kinji uses the gun to kill several monsters, but the battery drains quickly, and begins to drain mana from the environment to recharge, including the magic fibers woven into their clothing. After being punished by Shia, Kinji threatens to get rid of the gun, only to realize the gun has a stalker girlfriend personality and is forced to keep it when it threatens to self-destruct and kill everyone if he tries to get rid of it. They team up with the other adventurers made naked by Kinji's pistol. Zombies attack and Kinji disappears, leaving his underpants as a clue. Rim follows the scent to a concealed room where the zombies are used as slave labor to brew potions illegally, kept hypnotized by an enchanted poster of workplace rules. Ranga smashes the poster, returning the zombies to normal. They follow Kinji's scent and find him tormenting an undead mage, who explains hundreds of years ago his reputation was ruined by a hero, so he was forced into a dungeon, mining until he died of exhaustion. He now haunts the dungeon and brainwashes adventurers to work themselves to death as revenge. Kinji reveals Raizaha's concept of corporate drones, causing the mage to pass to the afterlife as adventurers are already working themselves to death. Kinji meets a young struggling shop manager in the dungeon, Cindy, and makes her a deal. If he can fill her shop with paying customers, she will sell him her best dungeon equipment at a massive discount. As the potions made by the zombies have no actual effect, Kinji promotes them as a pre-battle nutrient drink for massive profit, but are soon shut down by Raizaha, Confident Cindy can now survive on her own, Kinji and the others set off to the next level. Rim dreams of a girl with horns. Kinji saves maintenance workers who explain the doors to the 5th and 3rd floors are both blocked. So they are now stuck on the 4th floor indefinitely, while Belza's bodyguards are now trapped on the 5th floor, which has only 2 powerful monsters guarding the door to the 6th floor. The Ant Queen arrives having fled with her colony from earthquakes, and she has the horned girl who turns out to be Majin. Queen explains Majin was born after Rim left the dungeon to be its new guardian, but she is now unwell, so the dungeon is more dangerous. Rim reacts unusually by hunting food for Majin without eating any herself, but Majin reacts violently, which upsets Rim. She explains to Kinji she feels guilty for defeating Majin, causing Majin to be too weak to manage the dungeon. Kinji and the others return the 4th floor's ecosystem to normal through forestry and animal husbandry, while Rim looks after Majin. With the 4th floor being back to normal, Majin recovers and is given the name Sky by Rim. Sky suddenly falls seriously ill as the door to the 5th floor opens and the 2 monsters multiply into dozens and overwhelm the bodyguards. Kinji manages to save the bodyguards while Rim defeats the monsters. They locate floor 6, where Kinji reveals he secretly scouted ahead with his pistol who gave him information on a magical artifact Kinji now claims for himself, giving him the power to command all dungeons. Leading an army of the monster guards above ground, he confronts Belza with enough jewels from the dungeon to clear his debts, that quits his job. 3 months later, Kinji has turned the dungeon into a theme park, with Ranga as his assistant, and begins buying other abandoned dungeons. Using his powers, he's able to manage the dungeon's magic without Rim or Majin, turning them back into profitable mines run by the Ant Queen. Shia starts a new career. Kinji crashes Rizaha's profits by flooding the market with cheap dynamite and putting Cindy in charge of a magazine-based delivery service on adventuring equipment, which, thanks to Wanibe performing demonite research, are cheaper and higher in quality than anything Rizaha sells. He also ends discrimination against demi-humans by employing them with the same rights as humans. Belza becomes an alcoholic and is tormented by Ranga, who, as her descendant, knows Belza's childhood history. Belza suddenly invents a plan to get revenge on Kinji, using Shia. Kinji is arrested for crimes he committed before becoming rich, with Belza manipulating Shia into testifying against him. Portrayed as a potential threat to humanity, Kinji is tortured to extract a confession, but he resists. Shia visits and heals his wounds, having realized Belza manipulated her. The Ant Queen remembers Kinji wrote a manual for this kind of emergency. A month later, Belza is made Rizaha's director, but is shocked when Kinji is suddenly released and made CEO. Wanibe reveals that following Kinji's manual, they purchased 40% of all Rizaha's stocks and convinced the owners of another 15% to support them, giving them a majority ownership of Rizaha. Rizaha is absorbed into Kinji's company, where he makes Belza work with Ranga to improve their family relationship. Despite his victory, Kinji finds he is unhappy. Concerned about his behavior, Ranga reveals that Kinji is from Japan and may be planning to return. But instead of returning to Japan, he plans to expand the company, take over dungeons in other countries, and keep going until he controls the entire world. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.